Hello and welcome to Tyas Looks At. Now, it's not often that I end up reviewing a movie that, given its director, would be more appropriate to be reviewed by the cinema snob. Invisible Mom is a 1996 family comedy made by director Fred Olen Ray, the creator behind such titles as Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, Lady Chatterley's Ghost, Teenage Cave Girl, and 13 Erotic Ghosts. Not also including his various films with the word bikini in the title, like Ghost in a Teeny Bikini, Super Ninja Bikini Babes, Bikini Royale 1 and 2, and finally Bikini Jones and the Temple of Eros. What I'm getting at is the fact that a lot of his films run on a very specific and easily identifiable track. So, what happens if you put him on a family film? Well, then you get one of the most adult-minded movies you're ever likely to watch. A film where the title character does next to nothing in the movie, and the premise of the movie isn't even established until about 30 minutes into its hour-and-a-half runtime. But enough talking, let's look at Invisible Mom and see just how transparent it really is. This reminds me of The Haunting Hour. At least those actually had a point to the movie. This, not so much. So we open on...
There's this game called Virtual Combat, right?
Yeah?
It's really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell? Why's the color gone?
It's rad. So what games have you seen?
Oh, I saw this game called...
Movie. One question. What the hell was that? Because to me, either someone forgot to clear an effect away, or someone is trying to be as pretentious as possible. Though, of course, this won't be the last time that this film has some very questionable choices. We open on Josh and his friend Skeeter.
First you move your arms like you got an inch you can't reach.
No, not that one. Then he'd actually have a personality. We're then introduced to Teen McLovintress. I say that because she's only here for this scene before never being seen again.
Hi, Josh.
Unfortunately, Josh is cock-blocked by a bully who just needs to show up out of nowhere. And I literally mean that. They walk in from off-screen with no mention being made about them previously. Also, out of the three bullies, only the lead one will ever be seen again, and unfortunately, he has the most annoying laugh in the world.
That's your girlfriend? Huh? That's your girlfriend? Your girlfriend?
And also, he uses it at the end of almost every line he delivers.
Yeah, go back to Arkansas, lizard boy. Maybe I'll give her a little kissing. Go get your mommy. I'm collecting for the Tribune. Taking that girl you like out to the movies Saturday night. Too bad you can't make it, huh? Hey, that nose of yours is looking pretty good there, huh? Ready for another pop?
Although actually, when I think about it, that's probably not actually the most annoying laugh. So after barely assaulting Josh with a newspaper, which somehow makes him bleed, which then disappears in one shot only to reappear in another, he finally makes it home.
What are you doing?
Getting a cookie?
One. Thank you. What happened to your face?
Oh, I was attacked by a rogue SFX department that doesn't understand that being hit with a rolled up paper won't actually give you a nosebleed. No biggie.
Hey! Come here. Hey.
No, it's
Hey, Cosmo.
Cosmo!
Cosmo?
How was your day? Yep. You got it made. No mom to boss you around, no school, no homework.
You know what? I see what the kid means. His mother stopped him from taking 2 cookies and was worried about the fact that he was bleeding. What a bitch. Moving on, we get possibly the most vomit-inducing saccharine line ever delivered.
But what if I get hurt?
Well, this hurts, doesn't it? Sweetie, if you don't stand up for yourself, you're gonna hurt more inside than you do outside.
Ooh, one down. I know somebody who won't be having any...
I'm starting to feel funny.
Well, I feel fine. I guess I'm gonna... Oh,
boy! That means I win! I get to eat...
Following this up is Miss Pringle, the stereotypical nosy neighbour whose life revolves around someone else. Which admittedly is just par for the course for this movie then, isn't it? We've just got every stereotype they could possibly put in. The nosy neighbour, the bully, the love interest, the supportive best friend who will get few lines, the son who thinks his mother's being bossy when she isn't, and then finally the mother who feels unloved despite the fact she's trying to care for her family. Of course, the only thing we need to complete this bingo card of stereotypical family film characters is the father who's being bullied at work by his mean and evil boss.
Interesting, Griffin.
Very interesting, Dr. Warder.
Bingo! What was that? What was what, sir? Somebody said bingo.
And of course, I don't really have that much of a problem with the parallel plot lines of a father and son standing up to their respective bullies. It's a good system, it works. My issue is the fact that the eponymous character for the movie barely does anything to actually help them during it. It'd be like if Batman went, "I shall become the knight and fight crime and injustice wherever I see it. Oh wait, looks like the cops have got a handle on things. Guess I'll go watch some Scooby-Doo." Moving on, the family sit down to dinner, and for some reason the camera ends up with something blocking the edges, and this happens a fair few times in the movie. But no, just leave it in. It's not like it takes you out of the movie or anything. Though I bet if someone asked, the director would claim it was an artistic choice and not someone's accidental fuck-up. After a brief scene with Mrs. Pringle, because the movie for some reason feels the need to cut away from nothing to show us nothing, we get, what's that? More nothing?
Honey. Honey.
I've seen plays that were more exciting than this. Honest to God, plays!
Now, of course, anyone can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to set it up that the father seems like a workaholic who would then ignore his wife and his family. And given that then the kid is also ignoring his mother because he's got his own problems, it's trying to use the word invisible in both the figurative and literal sense. However, when you set this up with nothing behind it to actually show it having an effect or point, then you're padding out your movie with untapped potential for character development and plot points. The next day, Carl steals various science liquids for his workplace, only to be interrupted by Dr. Wooster.
Nothing. That's nice. You know that automatic shaver you designed?
Yes, sir.
Well, it doesn't work. If you need me for anything, I'll be at lunch.
Wow, even the soundtrack thought that joke fell flat. Back at home, we get another crack at the movie, trying to show Carl as a workaholic.
Hey, dinner's ready.
I'll just eat down here, okay?
Which would work, except for one small little thing. She was the one who suggested he work in his lab in the first place.
Well, what I invented, the lab is the lab's property. They own it, they make the profits.
Well, then invent something at home. I mean, you have your own lab down in the basement. Use it.
Pretty quick heel face turn there from one to the other, don't you think?
More sweet potatoes, Josh?
Oh, no, Mom. I gotta go.
Yeah, these tissues won't get masturbated into themselves. In his lab, Carl thinks he may have had some success, so decides to illegally test the formula on his own dog.
Looks good, huh, Cosmo? Cosmo. Science dog. You want to help Daddy with an invention? Works by changing the cellular density of the... yeah, you wouldn't understand, would you? You're a dog. Here you go. Want another drink? Yeah, you do, don't you? Yeah. Ooh, that tastes good. Get that in your tongue. Good. Nothing. Oh, stay.
The next day, Josh is looking for Cosmo and will be for several days, since Carl is keeping Cosmo in the basement, possibly unfed and with no place to go to the bathroom. So we can add animal cruelty to the list of charges for Carl, whilst the film attempts to be subtle with Laura.
Cosmo!
My mom is no one. Sometimes it feels that way.
I actually don't think this movie could be more heavy-handed. And seriously, kid, if you're wearing a My Mom is Number 1 sweatshirt, you deserve the bullying you get. At the dinner table, Josh voices his concerns about Cosmo, to which Laura seems to be in a huge amount of denial about.
She'll be back, honey. Tired, smiling from her adventures, waiting for us to look the other way so she can snatch some food off the table.
Giving the mom from Werewolf and Fever Swamp a run for her money.
Is this a blood stain? No, that's just, dry rot.
Whilst Carl doesn't just tell them what's happened and stop his son from giving this speech.
Because I didn't play with her enough, isn't it? She was always bringing me her ball, wanting me to play, but I didn't have time for her. I didn't make time for her. And now she's gone.
Movie, you do understand that Josh and Cosmo are not the focus of your movie, right? Because you're giving this scene far more reverence than it ever deserves. Especially since this isn't even a difficult thing to fix. All his father has to do is say, son, I have your dog, accidentally I've turned it invisible, and I've been keeping her downstairs because I want her to be safe. Because otherwise, he's just an asshole! And also, when you're 20 minutes into an hour and a half movie, the main character should have kind of showed up by now. Moving on, the film briefly turns into Home Alone as Josh shows off his inventing skill, though given that he has a poster for the movie Egar on his wall, I'm worried about his mental state. Of course, hijinks then ensue as Cosmo gets free from the basement and does various things around the house. Like somehow keeping a pillow aloft despite not being near it, stop motioning a Twinkie into disappearing, and apparently using psychic dog powers to pull trash out of a bin. Seriously, this movie was made in 1996 and the effects are just awful. And hell, I don't even think they're the worst ones. So Josh gets blamed for what Cosmo did, though interestingly only the bed, with no mention of either the Twinkie or the bin being knocked over. Whilst the next day, his father finally tells him and Laura about the invisibility serum.
Makes objects invisible.
Oh, that's nice, honey.
Imagine invisible eyeglasses, invisible braces, invisible bandages, invisible anything.
I can think of so many possible reasons why all the inventions you've just listed would be terrible ideas. However, there is a more pressing concern. The reaction of the rest of the family when they find out where Cosmo's been all week.
Oh my gosh! Honey, you're a genius!
You gave me the idea.
Well, can you bring her back?
Oh, yeah, sure, with an antidote.
Way to go, Dad!
That's right, it's completely unrealistic. Take one invisible pet and a family with 10 years links to sanity, and what have you got? A set of characters with all the emotional range of a potato, and a movie not worth the cheap plastic case it came in. Only visible in the Twilight Zone. The next day at work, Carl puts his patent application into the outgoing mailbox of his office, instead of just placing it in a normal mailbox or going to an actual post office where, someone who, say, keeps stealing your ideas won't see it. Whilst Josh ends up getting bullied again.
Well. Look at here. It's Lizard Boy and his good friend Dweebo.
Okay, does this bully just live in the trees on this street? This is the second time he's just come out of nowhere to torment the two of them. And at this point, it doesn't even matter anyway, it's just more padding for the movie. Hell, this movie's so full of padding, I'm starting to think it'd make a good pillow. Actually, let's try something. Huh. That's really soft.
I'm not too sure this is a good idea. Come on, Josh. It's the only way to sneak past your parents and save Debbie Moore from that Thomas creep.
Okay, so you want to turn invisible so that you can sneak out of the house. That's a good plan. That's a good, solid foundation. However, a few obvious negatives do come up. 1. You have no way to turn back to being visible. 2. When you turn back from being invisible, you will have no clothes. 3. Holding a backpack that's floating in midair because you're invisible and having to sneak clothes out with you kind of destroys the entire idea of sneaking. In other words...
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Skipping ahead a little, because my god, we're only 25 minutes in, the invisibility formula ends up in a bottle of RC Cola and is drunk by Laura. Which is kind of gross when you think about the fact that that bottle of RC Cola was left out on Kurt's desk for God knows how long. I mean, have you ever seen what happens when you drink bad RC Cola?
Oh no, not again.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss, my wine. Baby, my heart's on fire.
Of course, it's quick thinking disguise time as Miss Prinkle appears and essentially forces her way inside.
Young man, I want to speak to your mother.
You can't. She's not here right now.
You mean she's left you home alone? Maybe I'll call the authorities. Get child welfare on the phone. Maybe put you in a foster home where you won't have a crackpot for a role model.
No, she's here.
She is?
Whoa, movie. Time out. First off...
I mean, what the fuck?
Second, why the low and high angle point of view shots? I get the symbolism of power and weakness that you're going for, but it makes no sense and is wildly out of place. Especially since at one point the camera is so high up it makes her seem like she's a giant. The only time someone should have a point of view like that is when you're the other mother from Coraline. Kurt learns of his wife's invisibility and realizes that he needs to make an antidote, with Josh asking Skeeter for his lizard, who was turned invisible earlier, to use as a test subject.
Be careful with him. I really don't want to lose him again. That won't be a problem. As soon as my dad finds the antidote, we'll be able to see him again. Well, okay. Bye, Ben. See you later.
And now he'll never be seen again for the rest of the movie. Let us now have a moment where we remember the scenes that were brought to us by Skeeter.
Remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by.
At the lab, Kurt is caught by Dr. Wooster, who reveals that he has his patent application.
That I'm going to confiscate this for the good of mankind. And I don't think that sending this off right now is such a good idea.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Dr. Wooster has Kurt fired, because apparently they're the only two people who work there, other than the security guards, of course, leaving Wooster to pass off the formula as his own.
And just what do you think it does? Well, sir, imagine, if you can, an invisible army capable of crossing enemy lines and attacking at will, past guards, past surveillance cameras, without being seen.
And once again, I can come up with 100 reasons why your plan wouldn't work. I mean, hell, does no one have any practical uses in the field of invisibility? Back at home, Laura has now embraced her invisibility.
Dad! Not until after dinner.
Mom, don't sneak up on me like that.
Well, don't sneak cookies like that.
Mom, you don't have any clothes on. Or at least I don't think you do.
Despite all the previous scenes where she was complaining about it.
This is ridiculous, Carl. You've got to find an antidote. Well, sorry isn't good enough when Mom is invisible. Carl, am I gonna look like this forever?
Character development? What's that? The bully subplot pops up one final time with Laura using her invisibility to have the boy smack himself in the face.
Ow! Ow!
And while this would be a good resolution to the subplot, it does kind of undercut the whole idea of Josh standing up for himself. Meanwhile, we get our final cut back to Miss Pringle.
Something is wrong, Herbert.
Yes, dear.
I haven't seen Laura Griffin all day, and goodness knows I've been looking.
My lesbian fantasies cannot start unless I watch her like the creepy stalker that I am. And her husband says the only line in this movie that actually managed to make me laugh.
She left him. Or he killed her.
I can't imagine why anyone would want to kill his wife, dear.
Kurt and Josh break back into the lab over the weekend and find the antidote. However, Kurt is caught and sent to a mental institution for saying his wife is invisible, whilst Josh is put in an orphanage.
Mom?
Where are you? Are you okay?
Well, we ran into a little trouble at the lab. Dr. Warder caught us, and he put me in this orphanage.
He's put in an orphanage. Wow. I need a minute here, people. So, Dr. Wooster either had the authority to place a child that's not his into a foster home without anyone informing Laura, or the police took the child in and placed him in a foster home with still no one informing Laura. Now, of course, I'm not sure which of those two events is meant to have played out, but either way, someone is going to be sued and someone is going to be arrested because you've just committed an act of kidnapping. You have taken a child unwillingly from his mother, who has not been informed of you taking him, and you have no court order to do it.
Don't mock this. It's literally impossible not to.
Not, of course, that it matters anyway. The whole scene has no other point than to make Josh feel like he's taken his mother for granted. Which, of course, still makes no freaking sense, because none of that has been established. This film is trying to milk out some kind of emotion when there is none to be gained. And do you know why there is none to be gained? It's because the mother has only really been on screen for somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes. And even during those scenes, she's had barely any interaction with her husband, barely any interaction with her son, and given that the title of the film is called Invisible Mom, you'd actually expect her to have done something by now. Intent on finally being useful to the plot, Laura sets out in a taxi, driven by the film's director, which may be giving him a flash forward of what his life will be like after this movie, and intends to find and steal the antidotes.
Swift kicking it. Don't believe I'm taking my clothes off in public. Broad daylight. Excuse me, what are you looking at, buddy?
But given that the director doesn't even seem to realise that he should be reacting in this scene, then really, what hope is there for this film? Inside the lab, Laura is caught in a net that Wooster set up. Just go with it.
I will use you as part of my presentation in Washington. You will help me to sell the formula to the government.
I don't see anything that could stand in our way.
Sanity, reality, the laws of physics?
Well, if you cooperate, well then I will supply you with the antidote, which you came so close to. And also your husband and your son will be released. Now, if you choose not to cooperate, oh dear, I sure hate to see families separated, but I'm sure you understand that...
No, I really don't understand. How does a guy whose job title is never even brought up have enough sway that a mental institution is going to just blindly listen to him, and an orphanage will just take in a child without contacting the child's actual parent? I don't even know how to start explaining the level of bullshit that you were pulling out of your ass.
You have no power here.
I'll give you that's a start. So Laura is put into a crate to be taken to Washington, only to break out immediately the next morning, because this film gives no shits about characters keeping to even their own continuity. At the medical hearing for Kurt, every side character is apparently being used as testimonials.
The board acknowledges Colonel Cutter.
Well, Professor Griffin was always a strange bird. Not exactly the kind of man you would expect to find in the Army.
Which makes about as much sense as the rest of this movie does. Luckily, Kurt makes a long speech where he stands up to Dr. Wooster, and Laura arrives to make Dr. Wooster seem crazy.
To the state mental health facility. Because... Stop that! Stop that! Stop that!
which actually works, mainly because we just need a speedy resolution. So, with the villain defeated and everyone reunited, that should be the end. I mean, all they have to do is get the antidote and it's all back to normal. So why is there still 6 minutes of this film left? What is there to wrap up? Everything has been done.
Oh, Mom, I didn't really want you to disappear. I mean, I love you.
Okay, I can understand needing that, despite the fact it still has no connection to the rest of this movie.
Hey, Cosmo. What are you doing?
And we need to see that the dog is visible again. Okay, still not seeing any point that this film needs to keep running. We need to have Laura be visible again. Right, that should have happened 6 minutes ago.
Oh, but I was working on this experimental growth formula that if you do a baby chick, it makes him grow to the size of a house.
Carl.
Well, I threw it out in the trash. Don't worry about it.
And to end it, we rip off Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. That punchline was not worth the 6 minute wait. So what did I think of this movie? This film is just the worst. It's the epitome of everything wrong with family films. There's no effort in characters or story. The editing and camera work ranges from boring to confusing at parts, and I've seen better effects based around invisibility done back in black and white films than anything this movie ever puts forward. The plot of the movie is full of holes and disconnected from reality, making it impossible to take seriously, with the only reason for most things happening during the film is that the characters are just downright stupid. But that's because the characters are as poorly written as the plot. They're bland and have little to no personality. Everyone is a cardboard cutout who could be placed into any number of family films. Nothing here feels unique, and it's about as by the numbers as it could be. And the fact that the title character doesn't do anything until like the last 20 minutes of the movie just makes me wonder who wasted their time making this or watching it. And of course, some people might say, well, at least kids will like it. And by that I mean, people on IMDb constantly said that while this movie wouldn't be for adults, kids would lap it up. And that to me is the biggest insult you can ever give. That phrase isn't one we should ever use. If we know a movie sucks, then why does making it for kids mean that that's fine? If this was something for adults, it'd be slammed, slated, and destroyed. But as soon as someone says it's a kids' film, then it gets nothing. We shouldn't subject kids to films that are terrible when we know the movie is pandering to the lowest common denominator. We should be showing kids films that have effort and messages behind them. Both Studio Ghibli and Pixar do that, and their films are beloved by children and adults. And do you want to know why? Do you want to know the big fucking secret behind that? It's because at the end of the day, they take their audience seriously. They treat kids exactly the same as they would adults. Whereas when you don't, you get almost every Disney Channel live-action show. You get the few Nickelodeon ones that are worryingly following suit. And you get Cartoon Network cancelling a great show because it wasn't selling toys. Media for kids should be as entertaining and enthralling as anything made for adults. And you know what? That's what this show is about. This show is about exposing the shit that kids get given in the terms of family films. This show should be about exposing the gems of the family film genre. The movies that you can watch with your kids or you could watch with friends and family easily because it treats you with respect and with the intelligence you deserve. But for now, I've been Tyas. This has been Tyas Looks At. I'll see you next time.